is upon us, and we're going to talk about the whole fight card, or at least the main event. We're going to talk about the main card, not the prelims. The prediction that I have for the main card. Obviously, we have Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje in the main event. Co-main, we have Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. Stephen Thompson versus Michael Pereira. Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green, which I'm going to talk about that very, very in depth in this video. And Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. So let's get started on these predictions, guys. Be sure to subscribe for the best in-depth analysis UFC channel on YouTube, Sago MMA. So let's talk about, obviously, I talked about the Poirier and Gaethje 2 prediction in my last video, but I'm going to talk about, right now, let's just talk about, start with Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz. So I think, man, listen, Alex Pereira being number one contender in the division, and Jan Blachowicz being number 5, whoever wins that fight is going to face Jamal Hill, or Israel Adesanya rather, for the belt. So I think, listen, man, for that fight, I got Alex Pereira. I just think Alex Pereira is going to have too much for Jan Blachowicz. He's really good at defending takedowns on the feet. He's so lethal, quick reactions. And a lot of people say that Alex Pereira is a real volume striker type fighter, but I don't see that, man. I think Alex Pereira's got one-punch knockout power, but so does Blachowicz. Blachowicz also has one-punch knockout power. And so I just think, when you're dealing with the big boys, the light heavyweight boys, when both fighters got knockout power, one-punch knockout power, one of you guys are going to fall, man. And I don't know if it's going to be either Alex Pereira or Jan Blachowicz. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be either of those two. So, I think what's going to happen is, I think Alex Pereira is going to finish Jan Blachowicz because he has very good, knockout power on the feet, good at defending takedowns, good in the clinch as well. And he's just very, very lethal on the feet. He brings a lot of unpredictable things in there, and he's going to startle Blachowicz, and he's going to win that fight. And, face, obviously, get the title fight. So that fight is going, obviously, Alex Pereira. Next fight, Stephen Thompson against Michael Pereira. Now, listen, Stephen Thompson is a veteran of the sport. He's a veteran of the welterweight division, fought Tyron Woodley. He's fought the best guys in that weight class. And I just think Stephen Thompson, even though he's a lot older now, I just think Stephen Thompson, being the style that he brings into fight, that karate style, that unpredictable style, he's definitely going to finish Michael Pereira. He's going to finish Michael Pereira. I'm not saying Michael Pereira is a novice, but compared to a guy like Stephen Thompson, a veteran of mixed martial arts, he's a novice. So Stephen Thompson's going to finish that fight in maximum 2 rounds easily. Next fight on the card, Tony Ferguson. This is one of the most important fights in this card, in my opinion, because this is Tony Ferguson's last test to see if he can still fight in the lightweight division, let alone fight in the UFC at all. Because, Tony Ferguson, his last, 3 fights, he has lost. 3 or last 4 fights, Tony Ferguson has lost. He's lost against Justin Gaethje, and not just lost, finished against Justin Gaethje, being against Beneil Dariush. And this is the last test to see if Tony Ferguson has any longevity to stay in the UFC. Because if he goes out and loses against Bobby Green this upcoming Saturday, then it's finished. Tony Ferguson is done. The Tony Ferguson that we knew, very light on his feet, unpredictable movements, good power in his hands, good striking, insane on the ground as well. That Tony Ferguson, if he loses, is finished, is done. So, yeah, guys, it should be very interesting. I'm very, very excited to see how that fight goes against Bobby Green. It's just really sad, man, that Tony Ferguson, I always say in my videos, a sign of a fighter that's in decline is getting finished. And Tony Ferguson, in pretty much his last 3 or 4 fights, has gotten finished in a devastating fashion. So I hope he goes out and, and Bobby Green, is not I'm not going to say he's a bad fighter, but, compared to a guy like Tony Ferguson, is a no-brainer that Tony Ferguson should go out and not just win this fight decisively, but finish Bobby Green. And if he can't do that, or if he, let alone loses this fight, then we all gotta say Tony Ferguson is finished in the UFC. So I'm really excited, guys, for UFC 291. Some beautiful fights. And obviously, the last fight is going to be, obviously this is in the opposite order, but Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. I just have Kevin Holland winning that fight, man. I have him winning that fight comfortably, and I think he's going to finish Chiesa. Chiesa obviously is a really good UFC fighter in the welterweight division. We've seen what the things that he could do. Obviously against Kevin Lee, he did well, but Kevin Lee did enough to win that fight. And also against, he's beaten a lot of good fighters, but I think Kevin Holland, brings that new age, UFC, type style where it's unpredictable, right? A lot of fighters that are, kind of old age fighters, kind of like Ferguson and Chiesa. Chiesa is going to feel what that new style is like, and he hasn't faced somebody who has got that style like Kevin Holland, that unpredictable, staying behind his jab, the footwork, and, and the type of boxing he's going to bring is going to be lethal, and I got Kevin Holland winning that fight. But let me know what you guys think this UFC 291 card is going to look like, but that is my prediction and analysis in this video. Be sure to leave a like, comment what you guys think. I love to see your input, and be sure to subscribe to the best UFC in-depth analysis channel on YouTube, Saga on the May, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.